Well, good morning. Welcome back to GP Outdoors. I bought 3 more security cameras for the cabin. But today it's not an installation video. I've already done a couple of those. In fact, I'll leave a link up on the left side here just in case you're interested in checking it out. I thought maybe while I get these things installed between rainstorms today that I'd share a little bit of the things that I've learned over the last few years. This is the 6 different manufacturer or brand of camera that I've tested either at the house or here at the cottage over the number of years. And so I thought I'd share a little bit of advice, especially for you folks that might have been like me a few years ago and weren't really sure that these cheaper, less expensive cameras were worth it or would actually perform properly. And moreover, what are some of the things you want to consider? Because when you start looking online, there are dozens and dozens of different brands or manufacturers. So hey, let's get at it. I'll share some of my thoughts and I hope it's helpful. Cheers. So I guess the first thing you're going to want to do is go on Amazon, because pretty much any brand or manufacturer has all of their security cameras on Amazon. From there, you're going to see some of the reviews, and I'll tell you honestly, it gets confusing because one, you've got, I don't know how many dozens of different brands or makes of cameras. Many of them look similar because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are manufactured in the same plant, just under a different white label. But you're going to see a whole bunch of them. When you look at the reviews, you're going to see that every one of them has good reviews and they have bad reviews. So it gets a little difficult. Plus, some are, 3 megapixels, some are 4 megapixels. This one's got this or that one's got the other. At the end of the day, it gets confusing. But do a little research, kind of pick one that you think is maybe, in that $100, $150 or $60 or $70 range, whatever you feel comfortable with. Good. And what you want to look for first and foremost is the frequency that the camera operates on, right? So you've got Wi-Fi at home, you've got internet, and it's highly likely you have a 2.4 gigahertz internet because it's been around for a while. But over the last few years, that has turned into a 5 gig, or what you call or you've heard of as 5G. So you want to make sure that whatever camera you buy is at least a dual band, it's called. It'll say that it does 2.4G and it also does 5G. Do not buy the 2.4 only, because I'm pretty sure at some point in the future it's going to go away, because 5G is the latest, right? The latest technology. And you don't want to be in a position where you upgrade your internet service at some point in the future and your cameras don't work anymore. So look for the dual band, the 2.4 and the 5G. That's a must-have, I believe, from what I've researched. And that's what I've done as well here. And don't be fooled, because you're going to see a ton of these cameras are always on sale. Whether you see them on Amazon and then go to the manufacturer's site to look at all of their products, you're going to see they all have huge sales. They always have a sale on. But just keep an eye on that 2.4G, because you'll find that the cameras that have the highest sales are usually the ones that are only on the 2.4 band. And you don't want them, despite how attractive that sale might be. So dual band, 2.4 and 5G. If you're anything like me, I do not like drilling holes from the inside to the outside of my house. I don't like penetrating that insulated membrane. A half-inch hole through the outside of my house to run a wire to get the head of the connector through never sits well with me unless I know it's going to be a permanent solution. So myself personally, I went for fully wireless, as you guys have noticed here. The power is fed by a solar panel, a very small solar panel. But hands down, as I told you guys, I've had this camera here at the cottage. I'm going into my 3rd winter with it. It has never run out of power. That solar panel powers that camera all year long, including after a big snowfall. I don't know how the snow doesn't stick to it, but I've never once had to clear that panel off. Same thing at home. So you might be asking, GP, why did you stick with Reolink? Why didn't you go with one of these dozen other brands? I didn't, because if you've been around long enough, you'll remember that's an Argus PT. It pivots and swivels. I installed it 2.5 years ago. It has been through 2 full winters up here up north, and it's going into its 3rd winter. Never once on that little wee solar panel on the front of the house has this camera ever ran out of power, whether it was negative 35 degrees out and 2 or 3 feet of snow or not. For some reason, the snow somehow slides off those panels. It doesn't stick. I've never once had to clear the panels. It's never run out of power, and most importantly, it's highly reliable. It works. whether it's freezing cold outside or it's the middle of the summer. I've not had a single problem with this camera, which is why I bought a second one and put it in at my house. And which is why now that I wanted to put in some other cameras and test them out, get rid of the wiring that I have in my house on the other set of cameras that I bought from a different manufacturer, it just made sense to go to Reolink, try out a couple of other different models, and we'll see if it performs as well. Best time to do it is in the winter, because that's where the real test is. A lot of cameras could probably work during the summer, but now that I've got these other two outside and the one inside, I want to see how these other two outside cameras perform over this coming winter. That'll be the big test. If they make it through without any problems, I know I'm in good shape and I'm sure they'll be fine for the summer. I'll let you know. Yeah. All right, didn't take long at all. And I'm pretty fortunate, it's just been spitting all morning, so pretty lucky with that. I'm gonna clean everything up, put my tools away, make a note to get myself another set of drivers, something a little smaller, and then I'll show you the app and I'll let you take a look at what I'm seeing. I put in the same similar, I think it's an Argus PT they call it, a more updated one. I think it's got 4K on it because I've got a better internet at home. I have come close in the wintertime to it almost running out of power because down in the city the houses are so close. I was trying to point the solar panel as best I could over top of the house beside me. And it does get enough sun all year, but there was a week last winter where it got really, really low and I thought the camera was going to turn off. It never did, but it did get very low. But either way, you're looking at not only trying not to run wires around your house, which I'm sure if you're like me, I don't like wires running all over the baseboards, and I know Carol doesn't, that's for sure. So I wanted something that was totally wireless. Powered wireless with a rechargeable battery and Wi-Fi enabled. So I did not have to run cables anywhere in the house. One thing you have to be careful of if you don't have a really strong service at house or in your dwelling, or you don't have a large signal, if you put cameras on the outside of your house, you may find they don't work because some of the older routers that you get from your service provider for your internet don't push the signal far enough. In other words, it may work well in the house, but if you go to your garage and it doesn't work, or you go to the outside wall of your house, you may find it doesn't work. And the best way to check that is to go outside with your phone in and around the area you want to place the camera and see if your phone has bars from your Wi-Fi. If it does, you're probably going to be okay. If it doesn't, the good news these days, at least here in Canada, most of our main providers also offer extenders, they call them, or in my case, they call them pods. And basically it's a signal extender. So I just put 2 of them in my home in the city. They actually work. I actually bought one at Best Buy about 1.5 years ago. It was terrible. But the ones that I'm being given by Rogers, who I have at home, they actually work. I now have nice strong signal in my garage and outside the house. So it works great, and it's great for my security cameras because I get a great signal. But it's something to be mindful of before you buy something that's a Wi-Fi enabled camera. So if you are in a position where you want to kind of dip your toe in the pool, so to speak, and you just want to buy one camera and check it out, make sure you've got signal outside the house first, because that way at least you know you have a high probability of that camera connecting to your Wi-Fi and giving you the right service and allowing you to use it properly. Cameras here in the cottage, they all show up on my app. It doesn't matter where the camera is located. You can add it to the app so you see both premises on the same app on the same screen. And that's a big, big benefit to me. One of the most confusing parts of the research was trying to find out if each of these cameras constantly records or if it sits on standby waiting to be motion activated. If you're in a position where you don't have all-you-can-eat internet, like I am up here, I'm on a kind of a pay-per-use or a tiered basis. I get, so much memory or so much bandwidth for X amount per month. If I go over, I get penalized and I pay more, etc. You don't want a camera that is constantly recording unless you have a specific need for that, because you don't want it to constantly be sucking up bandwidth off your internet, especially if you're on a pay-per-use service. So all of these cameras that I have here, they all are triggered by motion. In other words, they don't constantly transmit over my internet, which is a big benefit to me, especially up here. So the great thing about it is they're motion activated. As soon as they see motion, they turn on. They immediately start recording. Now, these cameras here, at least the older ones, I still haven't looked into the new ones. They'll only record 8-second segments, and then they're immediately uploaded to my cloud account. So from the time that I get the notice on my phone that there's been motion activated, to the time I open my phone, open my app, click on my cloud service, every time without fail, that 8-second segment is already loaded to the cloud for me to watch. It's that quick. So when you're looking at the cameras, try to see if you can ascertain whether or not that camera has the ability to sit on standby, or if it's constantly always recording once it's turned on. Kind of important. If you, like I said, if you've got all you can eat internet, it probably doesn't matter, but it does matter if you're paying per use. Another important consideration is if you are like I am up here in the cabin in a very, very rural area and I have very poor internet service, although you're seeing all these cameras that do 2K resolution and 4K resolution, you want a camera that can also dumb down the resolution. All of these cameras have two modes. They have 2 or 4K high resolution, but I can also click them onto what they call fluent or low resolution. And they will run at 640 or 720. I'm going to show you before the end of the video, or at least at the end of the video, what it looks like, because they're all set to low resolution, because I need it that way because the service up here is so bad that if I set them all, or if I had a camera that only did 4K or 2K, it would never be able to stream it back to me because the internet service up here can't handle it. Conversely, down in the city, I have great internet service. I have a gigabyte service, so the cameras I have at my home in the city are all on 2 or 4K, highest resolution, because they stream very easily. It's a small consideration, but kind of important. You'll find, as I have with several of these different brands, you'll get hardware included. You know, you'll get the drywall plugs, you'll get screws. I don't know why, but they all have terrible, terrible quality screws. It's some kind of a soft metal. It's not like the screws you get at the hardware store, and they're very, very easy to strip the heads on them. So if you do have some screws, or if you can run to the hardware store, get the same size, get proper screws. That way you don't have to worry about spinning the heads off of them, and then you'll never be able to get them back out. So hey, I hope that was helpful, or at least provide a little bit of information or things to consider if you haven't yet. By all means, if you haven't given one of these wireless units a try, there's a ton of them out there. Maybe do a little research and spend 60 or 70 bucks, get one. See if it works out for you at home. Thanks again for sticking around. Have a great week with your families. Please be kind to each other. And I'll see you again right here. I'm Gord Potter, and you've been watching GP Outdoors. Cheers.